When people talk about the smartest human who ever lived, most people say Einstein. Some say Nikola Tesla, but the real answer might surprise you. In the 1600s, in a small village in England, there lived a quiet boy. He rarely played with other children. As a child, people thought he was strange. One afternoon, he noticed a windmill spinning in the distance. Most children would have glanced at it and moved on, but this boy just stood there and stared at it for a long time. Then he went home and built a windmill on his own, and surprisingly, it actually worked. No teacher asked him to build this. He just saw something, wondered how it worked, and figured it out by himself. Sometimes he would even walk outside during storms, just to measure how strong the wind really was. This strange, curious boy would eventually grow up and change science forever, and the boy's name was Issac Newton. Newton entered Cambridge University in 1661. He was a quiet student, just studying mathematics. But there was one thing that made him different. He asked too many questions, so many questions that he often annoyed his professors. But then, something happened that no one could have predicted. In 1665, the Great Plague spread across England. Cambridge University was forced to shut down. Students were sent home. For most people, it was a lost year. But for Newton, it became the most productive period of his life. Back in his village, working completely alone, Newton began thinking about a problem that had confused mathematicians for decades. How do you calculate something that is constantly changing? At the time, mathematics simply could not answer this question. So Newton created an entirely new branch of mathematics. Today we call it calculus. Yes, the same calculus that you struggle with in school was invented by this man. But he was just getting started. With calculus as his tool, Newton turned his attention to motion itself. Why does a thrown ball slow down and fall? Why do planets stay in orbit instead of flying off into space? After months of relentless calculation, Newton found the answer. Newton discovered 3 simple rules that explained how every object in the universe moves. We know them today as Newton's 3 laws of motion. But his most famous idea was still ahead of him. One day, sitting in his garden, Newton watched an apple fall from a tree. Now, it did not hit him on the head. That part is a myth. But he began wondering, why did the apple fall straight down? Why not sideways? Why not up? Newton immediately thought, the Earth must be pulling the apple towards it. A force pulling objects downward. But then Newton asked the question that changed everything. What if that force didn't stop at the ground? What if it extended far beyond Earth, past the trees and past the clouds? What if the same force that pulled a small apple down from a tree was also the force holding the moon in orbit around the Earth? This became the law of universal gravitation. For the first time in history, the movement of planets, moons, and falling objects could all be explained using a single rule. And incredibly, Newton was doing all of this while living in isolation in his village. But he still wasn't done. He turned his attention to something everyone had looked at their entire lives and never truly understood: light. Using a simple glass prism, Newton made a discovery that stunned the scientific world. He proved white light isn't pure. It's made of every color. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, all blended together, invisible to the eye, until a prism pulls them apart. Many scientists refused to believe him at first. His experiments were difficult to replicate. He did all of this and then turned 23. Newton didn't just make discoveries. He built the foundation of modern science itself. Every rocket that has ever left Earth relies on his laws. Every satellite in orbit, every bridge, airplane, and telescope, every mission to Mars, they all run on Newton's math. In fact, Einstein himself, the man most people call the greatest genius in history, admitted that his own work only became possible because Newton was born first. Without Newton, science might have developed centuries slower. That is the legacy of the great Issac Newton. Thank you for watching. Subscribe.